Well, hello, class, and welcome back. I am so excited today because I've got something in my mailbox. It came, Wildlife in North Carolina, and this is the newest edition of this magazine. And inside, there's an article in here that I really like, and it's called The Swamp Thing. Ooh, what in the world is this creature? There's a strange creature living right here in North Carolina. Let's take a look in here right now and let's see what it's all about. What is it? Can you guess what it is? Look. And here we are inside the magazine. You'll see the swamp thing, like I said. And look, there is the specimen of what we're talking about. What in the world is it? Is it a snake? Is it an eel? No, it's not. It is, though, I will say, an amphibian. In fact, it is North America's longest amphibian, and it is a creature more incredible than folklore. And we're going to look at a few things here. If you will take a look right here, look at the sides. It's not a snake. Look. What are those? Well, first of all, it has 4 legs, 8 toes, no tongue, no eyelids, lungs and gills, the world's largest red blood cells, over 25 times more DNA than you, and can survive for years without food. And it's common in eastern North Carolina. Wow, now this is really an interesting creature. Well, if you didn't know the other stuff, the 4 legs and 8 toes were a giveaway, weren't they? Look, there are actually 4 legs on this creature. If you look right up at the front and right up in the back. So there's 4 legs, which means there's 8 toes, 2 on each one, which would make 8 little toes on this creature. And believe it or not, it is a renowned type of salamander, known as the amphiuma. It's always a tongue twister to try to say. Amphiuma is how you say it. And I always get tongue-tied with it, but it's a very unique creature, okay? The record length was 29 inches. The hellbender record length. And then there's the 2-toed amphiuma record length of 45. So it's definitely the longest of the amphibians. But the next one is the hellbender, which it is fatter, but not as big. And so it is huge. Look at the skull of that interesting creature. And if you ask to name the biggest salamander, most folks might say the hellbender. But actually, the longest and biggest is this amphiuma, reaches nearly 4 feet, which is, can you imagine a salamander 4 feet or close to it? And it can weigh as much as 7 or 8 pounds. Yeah, 7 or 8 pounds for a salamander. Yeah. And again, now there are some other names you might hear them called, such as the Congo eel, the conger eel, the Congo snake, the ditch eel, and blind eel. But just keep in mind, they're not really snakes or eels. They are salamanders. There are legs. See? There are legs on them. They are elongated, aquatic, slimy, grayish black, pointed, wedge-shaped head, tiny, almost unnoticeable limbs. You don't really notice them. You might think it's a snake, but it's not. And they are mistaken for snakes. Now, these salamanders possess both lungs and gills, which is very interesting. They have lungs so they can breathe air, but they also have gills, making them able to endure life in the water long periods of time in the water, taking the oxygen from the water, much like a fish does. So very, very much an amphibian. The amphiuma can deliver a defensive bite that many field guides described as savage or vicious. It has an extreme hurtful bite if it bites you. Strong jaws contain approximately 100 sharp teeth. Look at that. And is sharp, just like a razor blade. Nonetheless, there's a man here who's an expert on them. He was really a scientist, and he had handled these amphibians for years and never been bitten. Gentleness is the key to not getting bitten. Amphiumas are non-aggressive and bite only defensively if handled roughly. So something to keep in mind. But I would say you don't want to risk it. You'd want to really know what you're doing. Notice the range and where they live. Eastern North Carolina, okay? Especially along the coast, but inland too. You know, as you go inland in North Carolina, you'll actually see swampy areas where you'll see that's where they like to live. And then look, another picture of one, and as it goes through the water, you can see how it looks like a snake, but it's not. Now, there was a biologist named Jeff Hall, is no longer a member of the Non-Bite Club. Before joining the commission, Hall worked at Cool Springs Environmental Center near New Bern, where he presented many outdoor educational programs. Hall had handled about 50 amphiumas during programs and monitoring efforts over the years without incident. But one day, as he reached for a moderately large one in a minnow trap, the animal lunged at him so quickly he could not react, grabbed his ring finger, spun with it, shredding skin and flesh. Several stitches, one permanent scar, and many years later, Hall is more cautious, acknowledging that sometimes even an amphiuma can have a bad day. And look, here's a picture of him after he got bit. Oh, look at that nasty bite. He had to get stitches. And that's serious. I mean, they are extremely, that was quite an attack there. And so be very cautious. You might say, why don't more people come in contact or why don't we hear about more people getting bitten by these? Because most people never see them. But they're not uncommon. What it is they're in streams, they're in swamps, marshes, canals, isolated ephemeral wetlands, shallow vegetated waters is what they prefer. Yet they are seldom encountered because of their secretive habits. Amphiumas spend most of their time in burrows or beneath underwater substrate, actively foraging mostly at night. Their mucky habitats are also the kinds of places many humans judiciously avoid. So records are lacking from several counties where they almost certainly occur. See, most people just don't come in contact with them because, number one, they're active at night, and they're in these sludgy, mushy areas where most people aren't. Now, you might go to a river, but most people don't want to swim in a swamp. And so those aren't the types of places where they are. You know, you go to your favorite lake or even a pond, they may not be there. Now, amphiomas do have many predators, including alligators, river otters, raccoons, wading birds, raptors, large fish, cottonmouths, and water snakes. Again, they do have a lot of predators that feed and prey upon them. Alligators, otters, and raccoons. Okay? When we say wading birds are birds with the long legs, you know, like the egrets and things like that, or herons, storks, but the water snakes as well. Get them. You may not come in contact with them as much because of when they are. Here's another picture of one here. And look at that. Look at that head. Look at that. The amazing amphiuma. I hope you learned something today. I actually wasn't aware of some of the items that we learned about in this article. Very fascinating article, all about amphiomas. Remember, they're not a snake. They're not an eel. They are what? They are what? They're an amphibian. And they are actually, let's see, located in eastern North Carolina, mostly. And they are part of the salamander family. Well, if you liked this lesson today, you learned something, go ahead and click like on the video and go ahead and share it with someone else. Maybe they'll be able to learn something too. And again, I subscribe to the Wildlife in North Carolina. And you'll never know what you might learn next. You take care, and remember, learn something new every day.